Welcome, everyone, to our session entitled Life with an Ostomy, Embracing Body Image and Building Confidence. I welcome two amazing people who are going to speak with us for about 20 minutes today. First of which is Graham Owen. Graham is Vice President of Ostomy Halifax following his diagnosis with rectal cancer in July 2021. He is currently doing hospital visits to help new ostomates, I love that terminology, find their way both mentally and physically. And he has completed a recent podcast under the podcast name is Sick Boys, in which I know we're going to spend some time talking about in this session. Secondly, I'd like to also welcome Nadia Mafucci Di Rienzo, who is a colorectal cancer survivor who lives with a permanent ileostomy. Nadia is also a digital creator and manages a personal blog and Instagram account under the name of Gutsy Girl Diaries to share her journey with IBD, colorectal cancer, and now life with an ostomy. Welcome both. Thank you so much for being here. Let me start and to ask both of you to share some general stories about yourself and how having an ostomy has affected the relationship you have with your body and your identity. Nadia, maybe we'll start with you, and Graham, then we'll go to you after that.
Hi, everyone. Thanks so much for having me. And I'm so excited to chat about this topic and continue to advocate and raise awareness for people living with an ostomy and also for colorectal cancer. For myself personally, the battle with body image has definitely been a roller coaster. So having IBD for 25 years preceding my colorectal cancer diagnosis, the outcome of having an ostomy was always there. So it was always something that was in the back of my mind and always something that I wanted to avoid. I always associated having an ostomy as something negative, as a negative thing that would happen to my body in terms of appearance and also ostomy management. But after having my ostomy surgery, and as much as there was like a whole adjustment and there are daily adjustments, I am super grateful because my ostomy actually saved my life and in a lot of ways gave me my life back.
You had some time to get used to the idea and you had done some research. Graham, I think your story is a little bit different, so let's bring you into this conversation.
No, thanks for having me, and I'm just glad to be able to share my story, and hopefully we can help others. But I started out back in July of 2021 when I was diagnosed. And I started immediately with radiation and 24 weeks of chemo. So after 24 weeks of chemo, I was more than happy to form a relationship with my new ostomy because I was pretty sick through the chemo days. And I just felt that plan B was not that good. So an ostomy automatically became my best friend. I get up every morning and say, another day, we're going on another day because it's attached to my body. I can't live without it. I played 118 rounds of golf last year. I'm very active in the community and active in Ostomy Halifax. And I don't let it hinder me at all, even with, I have a herniated ostomy now. So unfortunately, I was probably doing too much, and now it's herniated, so it's a little more difficult to manage. However, my surgeon says, until you need to have an operation again, we're not going to do one. So keep living your life the way you do. And I just finished 3 years, full report, and I'm all good. So whatever I'm doing, he said, keep doing it. So I'm going to stay active. I walk 5K a day just to keep my strength there. And I'm living life with an ostomy to the fullest. So I don't let it hinder me at all.
Congratulations. Both of you talked so positively about an ostomy. I mean, Nadia, it saved my life. Graham, it's my best friend. I'm not sure that everybody sees it that way. There's a lot of misperceptions around an ostomy. Well, what do you think some of those misperceptions are? And what's in reality been your personal experience around overcoming some of those misperceptions?
You want to start with me or start with Ned?
Sure, go ahead.
Okay. I've really found doing hospital visits, so I get to go in and visit folks that have just gone through the operation. Most times it's very much the same as my operation. So at first, they don't realize that you have the same thing, and they think their life is coming to an end. They don't think they can survive with an ostomy. I think mentally is probably 95% of the game. Physically, you can overcome it very easily because you just need to heal. Once you heal, it's a day-to-day routine that you get into, and you keep your ostomy clean, and you do the little things right to make sure it doesn't get infected and all that kind of stuff. Like, I haven't been in a swimming pool since I had it because I don't want to have bacteria around my ostomy. And that's just me, because people do go in swimming pools, but that's just, I have it in the mental side that mentally you need to stay on top of it, and you need to win the battle. And it's all comes down to education. If you don't know going in, then you're going to be in doubt coming out. I was very fortunate. I had a good friend that had an ostomy for 23 years. When he found out I had rectal cancer, he came to my house. I was doing chemo treatments. He visited me at home, and he showed me his ostomy. He showed me how to change it. He had my wife there and showed her as well. And when I woke up in the hospital with an ostomy, I knew what it was. Like, I knew what was going to happen because he had already educated me to the fact. So I think the more that we can educate others that are new to it, the first thing they think when you hear you have rectal cancer, you're going to need an ostomy is, oh my God, I can't live with one of those, or I'm going to die. Well, you're not going to die, and Nadia and I are here to show you that you do live, and you can still live a very active life.
Yeah. Before we go to you, Nadia, I just, Graham, want to highlight a couple of things. This concept, 95% of it is mental. I have to say, though, that it's physically a fairly significant intervention. It's physically something that's apparent. I mean, how should people think about that? Graham?
Me? Okay.
I just wanted you to comment, if you could, just on what I call the physical aspects of it.
The physical
It's
aspect,
fairly invasive, actually.
it is, but you can't change that. It's the mental side kicks in right away because you automatically think, oh my God, do people know I have one? How am I going to do this? Or how am I going to do that? Do I have to change my clothing that I wear? All of those things come in, and it's very, very mentally draining. I went back to work for a little bit after I had it, and I couldn't do things that I used to do. I ended up seeing a psychologist at one point because I was so caught up in the old Graham and not the new Graham. So I'd highly recommend, from the time that you start with a new ostomy, that you start your own program. When you wake up in the morning, what are you doing today? Can I do that? Should I do that? Am I able to do that? Am I not able to do that? You need to make up your mind for yourself and not leave that out there, so that it's an educated way of moving forward. Like, you can't lift things that are too heavy when you first have an ostomy. But if you don't mentally set yourself up for that, you're going to try it anyway, because the old you would automatically do that. So it's touch and go on the mental versus the physical, because I think the physical it's a healing process. And once it's healed, then it goes back to more mental, for sure.
Yeah, thanks so much.
No
Now,
problem.
yeah, this issue of, there's a lot of misperceptions, a lot of, I'll use the word taboo. People don't really understand the physicality of having an ostomy, never mind dealing with it mentally. What's been your experience?
So I echo Graham's sentiments in terms of, the half the battle for me was the mental aspect and accepting my new life, my new body, and embracing it. And once I did that, I found the physical part to be a little easier, right? I remember when I first had my surgery, it was, wearing clothing that would, hide my ostomy and make it seem like, that I didn't have one. And there's actually a common hashtag that people use in social media with an ostomy that says, bag what bag, right? So it shows you in an outfit where you wouldn't be able to tell if you had an ostomy or not. And not for anything, but 9 times out of 10, people can't tell that you have an ostomy unless you actually share with them or show them. So I think that in terms of the physicality part, I try my best to be as open and honest with, for example, my followers on social media, and I do show my ostomy to kind of break that stigma associated with the negative aspect of the physical part, right? Because living with your insides on the outside of your body is quite traumatic. But at the end of the day, looking always at the positive parts of it will definitely help in the day to day.
Yeah. Could you tell us a little bit more about your podcast? It sounds like it's an amazing resource. This is a wonderful chance for you to give it a plug. Tell our audience what they can expect to learn and find on the podcast. That would be very helpful, I think.
Sure. So I don't have a podcast. I have a blog and Instagram account.
Pardon me for calling it a blog.
Oh, that's okay. No worries.
Gutsy Girl Diaries. I'm going to plug it.
Sounds good. Thank you so much. So I started my Gutsy Girl Diaries account back in 2018 when I had a very severe flare up with my ulcerative colitis or IBD. And from there, I just continue to share my journey. I share my personal experience. I share, recipes. I share what I do in terms of, for my mental health, in terms of, working out, or a book that I may be reading. So just another way for me to connect with people within the community who have actually been diagnosed with colorectal cancer or have an ostomy or have IBD, but also for the family members and people around them, because having that support system, like I know that Graham mentioned that, his friend came over and showed him how to, do what the ostomy appliance is and how it works. And, my husband, for example, was always somebody that was right there with me along my journey. And it's so important to have that support system and have somebody who's able to help you with your appliance changes in the event that, you aren't able to physically.
Mm-hmm. Thank you. And I know, Graham, it's Sick Boys is the podcast that you had done. Maybe you can share a little bit of information about that as a resource for our audience as well.
Yeah, well, Sick Boys is it's a CBC driven podcast. There's three young guys. I happened to coach one of them, Taylor McGilvery, in hockey back years ago. So he reached out when he found out what I went through, and they do basically weekly podcasts on different types of medical situations with people in their bodies. So I was happy to join them. I went to their studio, and we sat down for an hour and 7 minutes, and they went through my story from start to finish. And it was gangbusters, the response they had. And they're still getting responses, and it's over a year old now. So people are still going back, and they put a little bit of comedy to it, just to make it light. And so the name of the podcast is actually ASS, Astounding. So it's astounding, but it's ASS in first and then hyphen Astounding. So, and they made fun of that because I was losing part of my body and gaining an apparatus, then they thought that's what they would name it. And it's been very good. And you would not believe the people that come up to me and say, "Hey, I heard your podcast. It was awesome. I'm glad you're sharing. I'm glad you're telling us what it was about."
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And I even went in so deep that during my chemo days, they don't want you to talk about cancer when you're in there getting chemo. So there's a number of people there, and I had this older gentleman next to me, and he looks at me and he goes, "Are you sick?" And I said, "No, I'm not sick." And he said, "No, you don't look sick." He said, "But why are you taking chemo?" And I said, "Haven't you heard? They have a new chemo out and they needed a test dummy. So I'm their test dummy and they're paying me to do this." He says, "You're getting paid to do chemo?" And I kept him going for 24 weeks and he thought I was actually getting paid. And then
I think there's value in humor, isn't there? And because I think it promotes a great attitude. Both of you mentioned that you have to find your way around. I use the word program. You have a program for how you manage your day. You have a program for how you kind of proceed with life following having an ostomy. What are the specific things, Nadia, that you would include in your program that others would probably benefit from hearing about?
So for me, it's just I'm a super planner by nature. So even pre-ostomy, I'm always someone who likes to plan everything out and have everything set and organized. So for example, in life with an ostomy, I definitely try to schedule my ostomy appliance changes. So, I typically get 5 to 7 days out of my appliance. So I typically do it on the same day. So I have kind of a routine. Everything is set up either the night before or I'll do it the morning of, that kind of thing. And then in terms of like my actual day, just pacing myself, as Graham mentioned too, not overdoing it, right? Because, you don't want to run the risk of having a hernia by, doing too much and, kind of forgetting that, our bodies can't physically sometimes do everything that, we used to do. But having a plan and making sure that we take it easy is really key.
You mentioned something about nutrition and recipe planning on your blog. Just a little, can you touch on that briefly? Is it
Sure.
different if you have an ostomy?
So yes, for me, yes, there are some foods that I do avoid since having my ostomy surgery, as they are foods that have a high possibility of causing a blockage, right? So I do tend to avoid certain foods, and then I kind of sometimes cook things a little differently, maybe a little bit more, depending on what the food is. And I do kind of try to incorporate, making sure that the food that I eat and the meals that I eat are nutritionally balanced, right? As well as being kind of ostomy friendly.
Yeah, thank you. And Graham, what about the program that you're on? I am in awe of the number of times you said you golfed last year. So clearly exercise is an important part of maintaining good health.
Yeah, because I went through such a long treatment of chemo and radiation, I lost a lot of the muscle in my body, and I'm a fairly big, strong guy and very active prior to this, and so I needed to get that back. I lost my strength, so I had it in my head, and after I met with the psychologist, she helped me with that to say, if you want to go for your walk, do it in the morning, and then you feel better all day, and I do. I get out and walk, and I feel great for the rest of the day, and I plan with meet my buddies in the afternoon, and I play golf. And if there's stuff to do, like nobody calls me to help them move anymore because they know I can't lift like I used to be able to lift. So your
I'd
friends,
say
and
that's a
relatives,
benefit, actually, don't you think?
your friends and relatives, they know what you've gone through, or they've been down the journey with you, so they just don't ask anymore. Like and I find with my buddies too, like they just won't ask me, and I sometimes get frustrated with them. Well, why didn't you ask me? Well, because we knew you couldn't do it, so we didn't want to, because they know I can't say no. So that it really changes your lifestyle for sure. But the plan is always the plan, and a lot of my days look the same.
Thank you. We've only got a couple of moments left, and then we're going to go to some questions. But, I have to imagine that somebody who is facing surgery and is terrified of what life with an ostomy is going to look like, what are some comforting words that you would offer to that person? Nadia, do you want to start?
Sure. So for myself, was something that I found helped me a lot is just the phrase, taking everything one day at a time, one moment at a time, battling and, adjusting to each aspect of living with an ostomy, one thing at a time, right? And with each, conquering of each day, the days ahead get much easier. So
Thank you. Graham, last word.
And mine was my saying that I had from the start was, I'm in it to win it. So when you're diagnosed, you have no choice. I couldn't roll up in a ball and say it's over. So I fought it to the end every day. I did have a couple days that I went to my wife and gave her a hug and kiss and said, I'm probably not going to be here in the morning because that's the way I feel today. It's bigger than me, but I made it through and I fought it. So don't give up. You can't give up. You have to be in it to win it and fight it every day. And you'll realize after the operation's over and you're laying in your hospital bed, the fight is over. You don't have to fight anymore. You can now start to heal and go on with life.
Thank you so much to both. Very, very privileged to have such open, transparent, elevating voices around a very difficult topic. I'm going to take a moment now, and I know that there's going to be a lot of questions from our audience, but thank you for being with us today and for sharing.
Thanks for having us.
Thank you.
Hello, everyone. Both Nadia and Graham have agreed to answer questions for the next 10 minutes or so. Thank you to everybody who has been submitting those questions. And I'm going to start with the very first one. And both Nadia and Graham have agreed to go back and forth on the questions here. So the first question is, what must-knows would you share with someone who is about to have ostomy surgery? So Graham, let me start with you. What must-knows would you share with somebody who's about to have ostomy surgery?
Well, the support that you will need going through it is the biggest must know. So there are what they call NSWAC nurses or wound care nurses that help you along, so they can make sure you're fitted properly for the right size ostomy and the seals are correct, and they do everything they can possibly do from their experience to make sure it's an easy switch over for you. It's a new form of life, and you still get to live your life normally by listening to those folks and learning all you can learn up front.
You said NSWAT nurses? I've
Yeah,
never
so
heard this term.
it's a wound care nurse that
Wound care.
deals with
Okay.
strictly wounds. Like that's their specialty. So they can do stuff to help you prevent rashes or infection that you might get or any of that kind of stuff. They really they're a support nursing group that really helps you when if you're in a time of need.
Okay. So make sure you're connected with that group, or who
Yeah.
connects you to that group?
You can do your healthcare people can do that.
Mm-hmm.
So typically, I know in my case, after my surgery, they actually visited me in the hospital. The NSWAC nurse came and visited me in the hospital and went through wearing the appliance, what it was going to be like, and you wake up and you get something new. You have an ostomy appliance on your side, and what do I do now? Well, they walk you through all that because it's that's your life. You need to know.
Okay. Thank you for that. Now, anything you'd like to add to that?
Sure. I echo Graham's sentiments there, and I also feel like support from family member or friends, and also other people that that may have an ostomy. You can reach out to them for their own tips and tricks. I know that I did, and that really helped me kind of navigate the first little bit. And especially after having ostomy surgery, it might be difficult to manage your ostomy at the beginning. So having someone with you that also is there to help with your appliance and ostomy care, I think is essential. And also getting to know the different companies and different products that are available to support your ostomy and ensuring the perfect fit around your stoma.
Thank you. We're just getting a lot of really amazing questions. Here's the next one. Many folks fear going to social events because they worry about the ostomy, that it'll leak or an accident will happen. Any experiences or words of wisdom to share to folks who may have that fear?
Well, I had an ostomy leak just as I was arriving to work, and it was kind of like my first time back at work in person. So that was always that was a fun experience to say the least. But what kind of helped me through it is being prepared, always having your ostomy supplies with you, and making sure that you are prepared. I think that's the number one thing for me, and to just stay calm while you're doing it, because there's nothing worse than being in a stressful situation and kind of being stressed at the same time. So trying to find that grounding or sense of calm in like that stressful time always
Very
helps.
hard. Yeah, very difficult, I'm sure. That would be an incredibly stressful moment. Graham,
Yeah, I
what would you say
totally
to
agree
that?
with Nadia there, and like the embarrassment of it. I mean, I've had leaks before. The embarrassment of it is the worst part, but you know what? It's your life. There's nothing you can do about it. You have to deal with it. Stay calm, like Nadia said. Have your all your products with you, and get it changed and move on because it's there's not a thing you can do.
Controllables, right?
Yeah, that's right.
What physical activities can you not do with an ostomy apart from heavy lifting?
Well, that's there's not much you can't do. I'm like I
Right.
mentioned before, I'm an avid golfer. I played 118 rounds of golf last year with a new ostomy. I wear what they call a stealth belt, and my stealth belt is an appliance that holds all my appliance inside of it, keeps it tight to your body. So, I mean, physically, you could ride a bike, you could run, walk, swim, do whatever you want to do. The only main thing is if you're lifting something heavy, you got to watch out for hernias. And I am in a situation right now that I do have a hernia around my stoma, and that's not fun. That's when leakage happens a lot.
Okay. Is it recommended that everybody should get one of these belts?
I don't know how recommended it is. It different strokes for different folks, and like
Okay.
it works for me. Other people just wear a normal, almost like a girdle belt. Other people wear just a strap belt. There's all kinds of different belts that you can wear. I just find that with a stealth belt, I was a guy who wore a suit and tie to work every day. You can tuck your shirt in with a stealth belt. You can wear a belt while you're wearing a stealth belt. So you don't have to wear suspenders on your pants to hold your pants up when you're wearing a suit because you had to remember the ostomy bag is hanging down and it is right at your waistline. So
Mhm,
with the
mhm,
stealth belt, it holds it up out of the way so you can actually wear a belt or tuck your shirt in.
mhm. And where would you get one of those belts?
There's different drugstores that sell them. There are some
Okay,
knockoffs and there are some regular ones. I get the regular ones myself. I have three of them now, and you just throw them in the wash and wash them and hang them up and they dry quickly. It's almost like a bathing suit material that it's made of.
okay, okay. Nadia, I know that you're very active. Tell us about that.
So I actually, since my ostomy surgery, it's kind of given me my life back after because I lived with IBD for 25 years, and when you're flaring and that kind of thing, it's hard to participate in physical activities. So I do feel that in a lot of ways, my ostomy gave me my life back and the ability to do more. Physical activity and just being careful, like Graham said, with the heavy lifting, but we can pretty much do everything.
Fantastic. So one of the questions here is, can you share a moment when you first felt like yourself again? And what actually, do you remember that moment? Number one. And number two, is there something that actually got you there? Graham.
I still don't know if I feel like my old self or not.
Oh,
It's there's a lot of change that you have in your body, and it's you know it. I found it hard to tie my shoes for a while after surgery with my rectal removal, and I still at times have some trying times, and it's been 3 years now. So it's I don't know that I'll ever feel exactly the way I felt before because I am living a new life now. I got a second chance on life, and I'm living it to the best of my ability. And I don't know that my body will come back to where it was prior to. That is,
mm.
I'm not sure that will happen.
Nadia, I love how you phrased the ostomy gave you your life back. So was there a specific moment?
I think so, yeah. So after my ostomy surgery, and I have to say, even prior to my ostomy surgery, I got rid of some clothes that I thought that I couldn't wear, because it would show my ostomy. Or when I would get ready, I would, wear clothes that would hide my ostomy, right? And then there was a point where, there was some other ostomates that I am friends with, and they actually show their ostomy pouch in their social media. And one day I just did the same. And it was from that moment that I felt like it was a very freeing moment, I have to say. And that, where I kind of accepted my new body. And as Graham said, this is our, new body, new life. So the best thing to do is embrace it, right? And the only way out is through. right? So going through it and dealing with it day by day is just kind of how I've kind of
Yeah,
managed.
both of you are amazing advocates, particularly in this space, blogs, Instagram, et cetera, et cetera. I would just love if both of you would give a shout out to the work that you do, how people can access resources, how they can actually access you and the community of folks that you're connected with to help others. Nadia.
So I have an Instagram and blog, Gutsy Girl Diaries. So I started that back in 2018 to break the stigma associated with IBD and digestive diseases and other invisible illnesses. And that went on to share my colorectal cancer journey, and life with an ostomy. I also share some recipes on there.
So it's gutsygirl.com. Let's get this
Uh,
so everybody knows.
GutsyGirlDiaries.com.
Gutsygirlsdiaries.com. Graham.
Yeah, so I am Vice President of Ostomy Halifax in Halifax, Nova Scotia. We are a support group with people with ostomies. I do hospital visits to people that are new ostomates, so I see them in the hospital before they leave. I also have done a podcast with Sick Boys, which is a CBC podcast. And Sick Boys, the title of it is called Astounding, ASSSTOUNDING. So it's Astounding. And it's my full journey from the time that I was diagnosed with rectal cancer through my treatments and then through my operation and back into a normal life. So it's an hour and 5 minutes long, I think, the podcast, but I think you'd find it's a good listen.
Yeah, it's very unfortunate that we have to end the question period now. We're incredibly grateful and lucky to have both of you as advocates. And for those of you out there who need to connect, lots of resources available to you.